Hello everyone, this is Nesifara A. Parnido, a PhD Math Ed student who would like to share the topic about the philosophy of education. For the learning objectives, first, discuss the different philosophies of education. Second, identify the type of philosophy of education applied in the recent educational system. Third, appreciate the important role of educators and students in the classroom. All teachers have a personal philosophy that colors the way they teach. So what is philosophy of education? It is the branch of applied or practical philosophy concerned with the nature and aims of education and the philosophical problems arising from educational theory and practice. Philosophy of education examines the goals, the forms, methods, and meaning of education. It is important to understand how philosophy and education are interrelated because engaging in philosophy helps clarify what they do or intend to do, justify or explain why they do what they do in a logical and systematic manner. Let us talk now on the different philosophies of education. First is Essentialism, followed by Perennialism, Progressivism, Existentialism, Behaviorism, Constructivism, and Reconstructionism. What is Essentialism? Essentialism was developed by William Z. Bagley and James Squarner. This philosophy advocates training the mind what are essential. Essentialist educators focus on transmitting a series of progressively difficult topics and promotion of students to the next level. In this philosophical school of thought, the aim is to instill students with essentials of academic knowledge, patriotism, and character development through traditional or back-to-basic approaches. This is to promote reasoning, train the mind, and ensure a common culture for all citizens. And this philosophy of education, this is teacher-centered. It means everything comes from the teacher. So the teacher is the fountain of knowledge and a paragon of values. It also emphasizes the mastery of subject matter, meaning the teacher is expected to be intellectual and role model of their students. The emphasis of education is the basic skills or fundamental arts such as reading, writing, arithmetic, and right conduct. The focus are the subjects in mathematics, natural science, history, and foreign language. How it is done. Essentialist teachers impart knowledge by relying heavily on the use of prescribed textbooks, And they employ the drill method, lecture method, memorization, and discipline. Essentialist teachers rely on achievement task scores to evaluate progress, and teachers expect that students will leave school not only with basic skills but also disciplined, practical minds that are capable of applying lessons taught in school in the real world. This philosophy is teacher centered. So again, everything comes from the teacher. The second philosophy of education is perennialism. Perennialism was developed by Robert Hutchins and Mortimer Adler. The focus of this philosophy is everlasting ideas and universal truths, meaning the ideas that have lasted for centuries, believing the ideas are relevant and meaningful today as when they were written. This is subject-centered philosophy. The goal of perennialist teacher is to teach the students think rationally and develop minds that can think critically. According to Aristotle, if we neglect the students' reasoning skills, we deprive them of the ability to use their higher faculties to control their passions and appetites. The perennialist curriculum is a universal one. So, what the perennialist teacher teach? They teach the lessons which are lifted from classic and great books. For the perennialist believe the past ideas are relevant. How to teach? The perennialist classrooms are centered on teachers. Classrooms are learner-centered. Students engage in Socratic dialogue. Mutual inquisitions to develop an understanding of history, most times timeless concept. And intellectual debates as well as question and answer. In this philosophy, the teachers are the main actors. The next philosophy is Progressivism. This philosophy was developed by John Dewey. According to John Dewey, people learn best by social interaction and problem solving. So, education comes from the experience of the child. The main objective of progressivism is to educate the whole child, meaning to attend the physical, emotional, as well as intellectual growth. Progressivists use curriculum that respond to student needs and that relates to their personal lives and experience. They teach the learners the skills to cope with change. So the teachers here focus in teaching the skills that they need every day, especially in solving problems that are already existing nowadays. How do progressivist teachers teach? Teachers employ experiential methods, one learned by doing. The methods here, it's hands-on, minds-on, hearts-on teaching methodology, such as field trips, thought-provoking games, and puzzles. In progressivism, the teacher simply acts as facilitator in the classroom. Let's move on to existentialism. This philosophy was developed by Soren Kierkegaard and Jean-Paul Sartre. The focus of this philosophy is individuals' freedom to choose their own purpose in life, meaning people are free to choose what make their life and their individual passions are what that drive them. The main concern of existentialists is to help students and understand and appreciate themselves as unique individuals. The role of the teacher here is to guide the students understand themselves as well as their potentials and skills. To educate the whole person, not just the mind. Since feelings is not divorced from reason and decision making, the existentialists demand the education of the whole person, not just the mind. Head and heart are inseparable. There should be a holistic growth, so it develops the heart and the mind. What are to be taught in existentialist classroom? Students are given a wide variety of options from which to choose. The teacher offers choices to the students. Humanities are given emphasis. Teacher helps students define their essence, then develop holistically. There should be holistic development that make good decisions. It is also learner-centered. So here in existentialist classroom, the students' interests and needs must also prioritize. So here, student is the center or the emphasis, not the curriculum. How to teach an existentialism classroom? Teacher should not impose values, since values are personal. Your role as a teacher is just to present the values and explain the importance of such values, the importance of acquiring that particular value. The teacher is just a mere facilitator. Learning is self-paced and self-directed. It means the teacher will simply guide the students learn to choose the process, the skills, the content, the learning pathways, outcomes all by themselves. The next philosophy is behaviorism. Behaviorism was developed by John Watson B. F. Skinner. The focus on this philosophy is the acquisition of new behavior based on environmental conditions. The goal for this philosophy is to modify and shape students' behavior. Behaviorist is concerned with the modification and shaping of students' behavior by providing a favorable environment, since they believe that we are the product of our environment. An environment where students learn positively. So it is expected here that if you have good environment, it will have a good result. Behaviorist teaches the students to respond favorably to various stimuli in the environment. How to teach in behaviorism. Teachers create classroom atmosphere or classroom climate that is conducive for learning. So, we are going to consider here the physical climate as well as the psychological climate. When we say physical climate, that refers to the lightings, the temperature, arrangement of furniture, or the size or quantity of visual aids. While for psychological climate, that refers to the feelings of students in the presence of the teacher or in the presence of the classmates, whether they are respected, welcome, or supported. Here in behaviorism, teachers ought to make lessons as clear and interesting as possible to capture and hold the learner's attention. And there is also an important power of positive reinforcement, an appropriate incentive to eliminate negative ones. The incentive could be tangible or intangible rewards. So again, in behaviorism, environment should be conducive for learning. Another known philosophy of education is Constructivism. This was developed by Jean Piaget. Constructivism says that learners construct their own understanding and knowledge of the world through experiencing things and reflecting all those experiences. Human learning is constructed that learners build new knowledge upon the foundation of previous learning, or they build their own representations and incorporate new information into their pre-existing knowledge. The aim of constructivism is to develop intrinsically motivated and independent learners equipped with learning skills, for them to be able to construct knowledge and make meaning of them. In constructivist classroom, the students or the learners are taught how to learn. They are taught learning processes and skills. How to teach? The teacher provides students with data of experiences that allow them hypothesize, predict, manipulate, pose questions, research, and invent. Their prediction should be based on the data provided. So here in constructivism, the role of the teacher is to facilitate the learners. The last philosophy is Reconstructionism. It emphasizes the addressing of social questions and a quest to create a better society and worldwide democracy. Reconstructionist educators focus on the curriculum that highlights social reform as the aim of education. For Reconstructionists, the curriculum focuses on students taking social action in solving real problems. The teacher engages the students to discuss and address problems such as environmental problem, hunger or poverty, international terrorism, inflation, and inequality. For Reconstructionists, the instill social issues are dealt through inquiry, dialogue, and multiple perspectives. Community-based learning is utilized. Summing up, the 7 philosophies of education that we discussed can be categorized into 2 types of philosophy: teacher-centered and student-centered. What are these philosophies that can be considered as teacher-centered? They are Essentialism, Perennialism, Behaviorism. How about these philosophies that are student-centered? They are Existentialism, Progressivism, Constructivism, and Reconstructionism. Let's always remember that teacher-centered focus on what the teacher wants his or her students to learn, while student-centered are less authoritarian. It put more focus on individual needs, contemporary relevance, and preparing students for a changing future. Upon learning these philosophies of education, I do hope we can identify now the specific philosophies being applied in our educational system. Or we can identify what particular school is employing teacher-centered or student-centered or a combination of both. Hope you learned something out from my sharing today. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day.